episode 13 now of this Hartech Engine 996 series. This one is also episode 2 of the interior updates. The next one will be the last one, episode 3 of 3. This one will be focused on in-car entertainment and the centre console and a little bit of the transmission tunnel shenanigans as well. But first up, let's talk about the in-car entertainment. Now, my car was fitted with this CD player, FM radio, so it's been on the list to kind of muck around with for a while because A, I don't have any CDs, and B, FM radio is not that great these days. So, centre console wise, I had this thing. So yeah, CD holder, but I mean this thing is just the worst piece of horrible plastic you can possibly imagine. So I was keen to get rid of this as well. So with that in mind, I've gone for the Blaupunkt Frankfurt, which is a brilliant thing. It looks like it's from the 1990s, which is great because it will fit in with the rest of the car. But it's it's a mechless unit. So it doesn't have a CD player or anything like that, so it's really small, really low profile. It's got digital radio, Bluetooth connectivity, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, everything I want basically. So that's what I've gone for. So let's have a look at what that looks like in the car. Well, this is my radio of choice for this car because, this is a 90s car. I don't want anything to sort of look like it's out of place. So for the vast majority of the time, you can just drive around, on here, listen to digital radio on here. It just looked like a, normal sort of, 90s car setup. But what I mainly use this for is the kind of what you can do with Apple CarPlay and YouTube Premium. It's obviously got, Bluetooth connectivity and stuff like that. I rely on a wired connection, but obviously there's no wires hanging out here or anything like that. The good thing about this is it's got a USB fly lead that comes out the back of this, so you can plumb something in around the back. So I've plugged in a USB extension to just down there. So what I can then do is I can take a USB lead and I can then plug that in there, like that. So now I can have sat nav on there and charging the phone as well. The good thing about this is all the really important stuff will come through the car's speakers and interrupt whatever else you're listening to. So, speed camera alerts and stuff like that. But because we've got YouTube Premium on here, I've got one of my videos on here now to sort of show you. So I can, if I turn the sound up so you can hear it. And because it's YouTube Premium, I can do this and just go back to, sat nav. And that's great. So just as you know, everything's on YouTube. So whatever you want to listen to, you can. And you can just go back to, just having sat nav on there. So yeah, that's why. And the thing is, you got to remember, if you had a screen here as well, you'd have to move this down here, so then you couldn't have the console delete thing here. And I'm really enjoying the console delete, I have to tell you, because there's all this extra room for your leg. I'm not a tall person, but even I'm feeling the benefit of that, like on a really long journey. I'll just turn that down for a sec. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually. So that's why this is my pick, really. Above the PCCM Plus. Forgot to mention as well, the cool thing is about this retro look. This looks like a tape deck, but behind here is SD card, micro SD, another USB, and auxiliary. So you can, however you want to sort of plug in your music, you can. So yeah, it's just a really, really cool, really high quality unit. I'm really impressed with it. In terms of installation, here's what that looked like. This is this looks like a complete rat's nest, but basically the connections you have to make You have to plug that block into this red bit on the loom, and then this one's been hacked about a lot in the past. I think there's a aftermarket phone system in here, so I trimmed all that out and just sort of taped it up so it wouldn't short on anything, and plugged it into this block here on the loom. Now without that it definitely doesn't work, and then the loom basically takes care of everything else apart from there's this amp on connection here that comes out of the loom. You do have to cut into the blue wire further down the loom and make that connection. And then the other thing is, because I've got this booster, this is actually a splitter and a booster, so you basically plug the aerial in there, the standard car aerial, it runs it through this signal booster and splits it into two, so it provides your digital and your analog aerial in one, and that needs 12 volts as well. So you take the other blue wire coming out of the loom, which says remote output, and you plug that into this switched 12 volt as part of that booster. For the center console, I did want to go down the GT3 style center console delete. The problem with that is the actual official Porsche parts for that are quite expensive and very hard to come by these days, especially in Metropole Blue. So I was speaking to some people on Facebook about that, and we very quickly found this guy called 3D Dave here in the UK, who you can send the 3D file for that product over to him, and he'll 3D print you one for around £280 delivered. Still quite a bit of money for what it is, if I'm honest. In terms of like the carpet for it, all I did was, there's two pieces of trim that go down the side of the standard console that you don't need anymore, but they are carpeted. So I took those out of the car, teased the carpet off carefully with some plastic razor blades, stuck those on the new center console delete panel, and then just laid some 986 carpet over the top of that. So, I mean, it looks all right. I'm not 100% happy with it though, because I mean, you can see all the joins and stuff like that. I've not done an amazing job on that, so I will redo that at some point in the future when I get time, but it's all right for now. So anyway, those two bits were done. I drove the car around like that for a while, until it got to the point where I just kept noticing how scratched up my kind of transmission tunnel was. So it was at that point I remembered you can get leather coverings for the transmission tunnel on eBay. So I did that, got all the stuff to refinish that leather and recolour it in Metropole Blue, and set about retrimming the transmission tunnel. Okay, so this is now done. It is incredibly fiddly. I was going to kind of try and film the whole thing, but there's a heat wave here in the UK at the minute and my camera's overheated, so they did cut out at some point. Broadly speaking, the way that you kind of get this on, or the way that I did it anyway, is to kind of have some anchor points for the leather. So, and by anchor point I mean you essentially use some really strong glue, such as this stuff, and you basically the problem is with this stuff though, I should say, it expands a hell of a lot, so you can't really put this anywhere, you know, on this side of things. You sort of anchor it on here and here, and then all the way along there, same on the other side, and clamp it in place using these, basically, you know, various forms of, you know, clamps and things like that, but not all at once. Obviously, I started at this end, clamped everything there, and then just slowly laid the leather over the top. What's keeping the leather on the plastic here isn't Gorilla Glue, it's what I normally use for upholstery stuff, where you can't really see that well because this can's been sprayed over at some point, but this is 3M display mount. Spray it on and you leave it, I don't know, 30 seconds or so for it to go a bit tacky, and then you can lay the leather over, and this never really goes off, it never really goes hard, so it's not going to penetrate the leather and make it rock hard. So I think I did this bit first, clamped it there, put this glue here in there, laid it over, and then did this section, and then this bit, and then laid it over here and did this, and then, you know, with Gorilla Glue clamped everything under there. You need a really strong bond in here because there's actually a big gap there, so you can use that to your advantage and loop a lot of leather over here, but you need a really strong bond there. But you can't put a clamp on there because that's curved, and this isn't, this is flat. So that's where a third glue came in handy, which is super glue. Now the good thing about this is it will give you almost as strong a bond as this, but this needs a clamping time of like 2 hours. This needs a clamping time of about 30 seconds. So you can put this in there, just hold it for a bit, and you're done. You've got a good strong bond there. The only other thing to mention is, bear in mind, if you're going to do this and you don't have access to all of this stuff, which is basically everything that we use to recolor the leather, and this is everything that we use to repair the leather on the seats I did, it's going to be more difficult because, I'll give you an example. So when you're cutting leather, obviously you're exposing the fibres, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and occasionally, you know, you'll make a mistake, you cut it a bit too much into here and it is visible. And in fact, there is a cut here somewhere, where you probably, yeah, you can just about see it there. Now, I'd like to think if I hadn't pointed that out, you wouldn't have seen that, it's tiny, right? But that's obviously because I realised I'd cut a little bit too much into there, but because we've got all that stuff, I was then able to kind of fill that cut with the Metropole Blue dye, and then put the sealant over the top of it, so you can't even see it anymore. But if I hadn't done that, I mean, that would have stuck out like a sore thumb, and that would have really annoyed me, having put all this work in. I'm not an upholsterer, but I'd like to think it looks all right, and it looks pretty good. And the other thing is, this leather and this boot are from the same supplier on eBay. I fitted this, and then when I plonked this on top just to see what it would look like as a contrast, because this is still charcoal, I believe, colour, it's just quite funny that the leather stitching lines up perfectly. So it tempting at that point to recolour this as well in Metropole, and you know, this would be like a quite nice little continuity thing, but I don't think I'm going to do that, because you've got the grey here, you've got the grey there, and you've got this kind of charcoal thing here. I'm quite enjoying the contrast, so I'm not going to do that. And the other thing is, of course, as well, again, the benefit of having all of that stuff up there, I've essentially resprayed this in Metropole Blue as well, because before it was way too black, so it really stuck out like a sore thumb, and that won't stick out anymore. So with all that trimmed, it was ready to go back in the car. But this is the point where I was also fitting my new seats, and as previously mentioned, they aren't the 996 seats, they're in fact these ones I got from a 997. So in the next episode, we'll cover the work required to get these seats ready for fitting, because they did need quite a bit of work done to them, along with all the wiring you need to do, because the connectors aren't compatible between the two cars, so I'll cover that off as well. And we'll also, of course, finally see, you know, the impact all this stuff has made to my interior. I'm very happy with the results. But anyway, I'll leave this one here. Again, thanks so much for the support. We're over 1,000 subs now. That's really cool. So thanks to everyone that's commented and liked. It really is much appreciated. But for now, yeah, thank you very much again. And I'll see you for the next one.